Hey guys, tonight we sail into the wide, uncharted ocean, feeling the warmth of the sun rise on your face as the ship creaks beneath your feet. The smell of salt water mingles with the faint scent of tar from the ship's wooden beams. The ocean stretches out before you, endless, vast, and full of promise. As you glance over the ship's rail, the world you know begins to shrink into the distance, leaving only the great unknown ahead. You're on the brink of discovery, but deep down, you know this journey isn't for the faint of heart. You may find treasures, but you may also face dangers that no one could have prepared you for. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and time in the comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The ship's bell rings out, signaling the final preparations before departure. You're not the only one with a sense of eager anticipation in your gut, though the crew seems to be struggling with an unspoken tension. There's something primal about the way the sea calls to you, an ancient invitation to explore the unknown. But the real truth, only a few will make it back. The rest, well, let's not dwell on that just yet. You'll need all your wits about you. As you stand on the deck, the air grows thick with the noise of preparations. Ropes creak as they're tightened. Sails are unfurled in anticipation of the first gusts of wind, and voices shout orders that blend with the swells of the waves. It's easy to feel insignificant in the face of such vastness, but you're here, part of something bigger, a small crew bound for discovery. As the ship finally begins to leave the safety of the harbor, you can't help but feel a twinge of nostalgia for the land you're leaving behind. The shore shrinks into the distance, but there's no turning back now. The world is changing before your eyes. New lands are waiting, hidden beneath the horizon, but so are dangers you can barely imagine. You might see things that were only whispered about in ports across the world, but there's beauty in this journey. The very unknown you fear is what makes the adventure so sweet. And so, with a deep breath, you let the adventure unfold before you, ready to face whatever lies ahead, one wave at a time. The first few days pass in a blur of salt-sweet air and steady rhythm. The ship creaks with the motion of the waves as the wind fills its sails, sending you farther and farther from the shores you know. You watch the coastline slowly vanish from sight until it's just a thin, fading line against the horizon. Now, it's just you, the endless ocean, and the sky stretching out above you, as vast and unknowable as your future. The sun is always high, casting a warm, golden glow on the ship's wooden planks. At night, the stars are impossibly bright, forming constellations you've only ever seen in maps and dreams. You learn quickly that the stars are your guide, your compass in the dark, an ancient system of navigation used for centuries. The crew is quiet during the nights, each man with his own private thoughts, gazing up at the same stars, maybe even wondering if they're guiding them in the right direction. But it's not just a compass you need. You'll need more than the North Star to survive what's coming. There's an old sailor's saying, "The sea takes what it wants and gives only when it pleases." You're beginning to understand what that means as you spend more time on the open water. Even the calmest days seem to bring a sense of unease. The rhythm of the ship's movement is hypnotic, almost too peaceful for comfort. But even on the calmest of seas, the ocean holds its secrets. There's something unsettling about how quiet it is. The vast, empty spaces between the waves, as if the ocean itself is watching you. Or worse, waiting for you to slip up. And then there's the heat. It seems relentless, a heavy weight in the air that sticks to your skin. The sun beats down during the day, and at night the humidity rises, making the air thick and uncomfortable. The crew sweats under the strain of their work, wiping their brows with stained rags. It's not the kind of heat you're used to, the kind that can be relieved with a drink of water or a quick dip in the river. This is the kind of heat that feels like it's inside you, crawling beneath your skin, and you can't quite shake it. But there's no time to dwell on it. You've learned to push forward, to ignore the discomfort, because the goal is too great. Every day, you're closer to the unknown, closer to those lands no one has ever seen. And yet, each night, as the ship gently rocks beneath you, you can't help but wonder, what will you find there? Historians still argue whether sailors during the Age of Discovery were truly driven by the thirst for knowledge or the lust for gold. Some say it was the allure of treasure that pulled explorers out onto the open ocean, while others believed the search for new lands was what truly drove them. You can't say for sure just yet, but what's clear is that the thrill of the unknown is intoxicating. Whether it's treasure, trade, or something else entirely, there's a fire that burns in you now. The same fire that's burning in your crew. It's a fire that won't be easily extinguished. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing. Even in these early days, you're beginning to feel the first stirrings of anxiety. There are whispers among the crew, whispers that something is not quite right. The calm of the seas isn't something sailors are used to. They're used to the tug of the wind, the ripples of a rising storm, the constant movement of the water beneath their feet. But this stillness, it's unnerving. As night falls, and the stars above seem to blink at you from an infinite distance, you can't shake the feeling that the sea is holding its breath. And so, the days pass, one after another, each as indistinguishable as the last. You settle into a rhythm, sailing, eating, resting, and staring at that endless horizon. Each day is the same, and yet something feels different. You don't know what's coming, but you know that it will be unlike anything you've ever experienced. You might be far from the land you once called home, but already the world is changing, and soon you will begin to change too. Night falls again, and the ship is still, too still. The air feels heavy, almost suffocating. You lie in your hammock below deck. The creaking of the wood and the distant sound of the ocean lulling you into a restless sleep. But sleep doesn't come easily. Every time you close your eyes, your mind drifts to the horizon, the endless expanse that seems to go on forever. How far is it to the lands you seek? The unknown, the promise of new life, new riches, or maybe a new beginning. But it's hard not to feel a pang of fear mixed with the excitement of discovery. You're deep in uncharted waters now, where even the most experienced sailors, those who've crossed the vast oceans time and time again, feel that familiar tug of unease. The stars, those guides you once trusted, now seem almost distant. It's not that they've changed, but there's something different about them. Perhaps it's the growing distance from everything you know, from the shores you can't see anymore. Or maybe it's just the quiet terror that grows with each passing hour. The days blur into one another. You wake, you work, you eat, and you sleep. But with each passing day, you grow more and more reliant on the stars. They are the only thing keeping you grounded, keeping you moving forward in this vast, endless ocean. A compass might point you in the right direction, but the stars, they're the ones that give you purpose. Without them, who knows where you would end up? The crew talks little now, only whispering when they think you're not listening. They mutter about strange feelings, about things they've heard or seen in the darkness. Some swear they've seen lights on the horizon at night. Others claim to have heard voices carried on the wind. It's all just talk, of course. Sailors are notorious for their superstitions and tall tales. But even so, you can't shake the feeling that something is stirring on the edges of your awareness, something just beyond the veil of the night. Historians still argue whether this paranoia, the creeping dread of the unknown, was truly felt by all sailors during the age of discovery, or if it's a romanticized exaggeration. Were these men driven by an unshakable sense of purpose, or did they simply struggle to keep their fear in check? Was it the long isolation from land, or the endless vastness of the sea that made their nerves fray? You wonder if, centuries from now, someone will look back at your own journey and wonder the same thing. Then, one night, as you stand at the ship's bow, staring into the pitch-black waters, something shifts. It's not the wind. It's too quiet for that. No, it's something deeper, something in the very air. The stars seem to shine brighter, but the sea feels darker. You blink, and for a moment, the horizon seems to disappear entirely. The vast ocean becomes a great black void, and it's as if the world you know has slipped away, leaving only a terrifying nothingness in its place. You feel a chill run down your spine, but you shake it off. It's nothing. It has to be nothing. The crew is just on edge, nothing more. But deep inside, a nagging thought lingers. What if it's something more? It's not long before you realize that the stillness, the eerie quiet, has a strange effect on you. You find yourself thinking more deeply than you ever have before. You think about where you've come from, where you're going, and what you're really searching for. The treasure, the new lands, or something more elusive, something that can't be found on any map. And yet, in the distance, a shadow seems to move on the water, a ripple that doesn't belong. It's too small to be a ship, too faint to be a wave, but something shifts within you when you see it. The sea is alive, and it's reminding you of that fact. Sailors speak often of the sea's fickle moods, how she can be calm one moment and rage the next. Some say that the sea herself is a goddess, both beautiful and dangerous, a creature with moods as changeable as the wind. Others whisper of darker things beneath the waves, creatures of myth and nightmare that lurk just out of sight. Perhaps it's just superstition. After all, what's the truth in a story about a sea monster, right? Yet, you can't help but feel the ocean's pull, the strange sense that something is out there, just beneath the surface. Historians still argue whether the sailors of this era truly believed in such things, or whether they simply feared what they could not understand. The stories of sea monsters, ghosts of lost ships, and things lurking beneath the waves are so woven into the fabric of maritime culture that they became as real as the ships themselves. And for some, that was enough to make them believe. Maybe it's the same for you, too. Or maybe it's just the vastness of the ocean playing tricks on your mind. Whatever the truth may be, the sea is no longer just water and waves. It's something more, something that feels as though it knows you. And the deeper you go, the more it reveals. But still, you sail onward. You have to. The unknown calls. You may not fully understand it, but you can't stop now. After all, the horizon is still out there, waiting for you. The days drift by, the wind gentle and predictable, as if the sea has finally found its rhythm. But that unsettling stillness remains, like a presence lurking beneath the surface of the water. It's hard to shake the feeling that the ocean is not as passive as it seems, that there's something more beneath the waves. Still, you can't afford to dwell on such things. Not yet. The ship crests gently with the swell of the sea, and you, alongside the rest of the crew, go about the endless tasks that keep the ship afloat. You've learned quickly to adjust to the pace of life at sea. You rise with the first light, the soft glow of dawn casting its early warmth across the deck. The crew starts their work, checking the sails, adjusting the rigging, cleaning, mending nets, and attending to the ship's many needs. Every task is performed with practiced ease, but it's hard to ignore the tense undercurrent that runs through everything. The whispers among the crew continue, tales of strange lights and odd occurrences, but no one dares to speak too loudly. Everyone is too afraid of what the silence could mean, of what the absence of wind or sound might be hiding. But the calm sea is soon interrupted. One afternoon, a sudden storm rolls in with no warning. It's as if the very heavens themselves have decided to remind you of who truly controls the ocean. The winds shift, the sky darkens, and within minutes, the storm explodes into full force. The ship pitches violently as waves crash against the sides. The creaking of the wood almost drowned out by the roar of the storm. It's then you realize this is the sea at her most unforgiving. A beast, untamed, thrashing around you. You cling to the rail, watching as the crew scramble to secure the sails, each man shouting over the storm, their faces grim with the knowledge that there's little they can do. The ship groans as though she's protesting the beating she's taking, but somehow she holds together. You can see the fear in your crew's eyes, but you also see something else. Respect. The sea has no mercy, and you, no matter how far you've sailed, will never fully understand her. The storm rages on for what seems like hours. You lose track of time, each second feeling like an eternity. There's nothing to do but hang on, praying the ship will make it through, and hoping that when the storm clears, you'll still be standing. Finally, after what feels like an endless battle, the storm begins to recede, the winds dying down, and the clouds parting to reveal a sky washed clean. But the damage has been done. The ship has taken a beating, the sails torn in places, the mast creaking under the strain. The crew is exhausted, drenched to the bone, and the air is thick with the scent of salt water and wet wood. It's a sobering reminder that for all the thrill of discovery, the ocean is not a gentle mistress. It's a tempest, unpredictable and fierce. And as you stare out at the horizon, it's hard to shake the feeling that the worst is still to come. Historically, these storms weren't just a test of physical endurance. They were a test of a sailor's mind. The age of discovery, with its endless dangers and uncertainties, created legends not only of the treasure hunters who sought fortune, but of the men who battled the elements day after day, often finding themselves on the edge of despair. Some say these sailors were just men of faith, relying on prayer and superstition to get them through the hardest times, while others argue they were driven by something deeper, an insatiable hunger to conquer the unknown, to rise above the chaos. You can feel that hunger growing within you, despite the fear. You realize that the storms, the ones you feared at first, are merely part of the journey. They will shape you. The sea has its own way of testing your resolve, of pushing you to your limits. But if you survive, you'll be forged in ways you never imagined. And as the storm clears, there's a strange sense of peace that settles over you. The sea is calm again, but you know she's only waiting. You're left with nothing but your thoughts, the sound of the wind in the rigging, and the faint feeling that the ocean is still watching you. You glance at the stars above, the same ones that guided you here, and wonder, what other challenges await beyond the horizon? You have no answers yet, but you'll find them. It's a dangerous game you're playing, but the allure of discovery is stronger than any fear you might feel. The storm has passed, but the atmosphere aboard the ship has changed. The mood among the crew is tense, a quiet unease settling in like the humidity before a storm. It's not just the battered sails or the bruised masts. They've seen worse before. It's the silence, the unsettling stillness that now lingers in the wake of the storm. The sea is eerily calm, and the only sound are the creaks and groans of the ship and the occasional murmur of the men working quietly on repairs. For the first time in days, the crew is subdued, speaking in low voices, their eyes scanning the horizon. You can almost feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating, and it's hard to tell whether they're still trying to recover from the storm or if there's something else weighing on them. Then, just as quickly as it came, the calm is broken by a sudden shift in the wind. The sails flap as they catch the first gusts, and the ship lurches forward. But there's something different this time. It's as if the wind is guiding you, urging you toward something, some distant shore, some promise that's just out of reach. There's an undeniable pull in the air, and for a moment, you wonder if the ocean itself is leading you somewhere, like a secretive guide with its own agenda. The crew seems to feel it too, their nervous energy returning. They whisper among themselves, pointing toward the distant horizon, where something seems to shimmer just beyond the reach of the ship's bow. It's too far to make out clearly, but the men exchange glances, their expressions unreadable. This is the moment, you realize. This is the moment you've been waiting for. The moment where the unknown finally becomes tangible. It's not just an endless stretch of water and sky anymore. It's something real, something that might be the end of your journey, or perhaps the beginning of an entirely new chapter. You stand at the bow, your heart pounding in your chest as the ship picks up speed, the wind pushing you forward. There's no turning back now. The ocean, as unpredictable and terrifying as she is, has laid her course before you, and you have no choice but to follow it. Historians still argue about the role of luck in the voyages of the Age of Discovery. Some say it was sheer fortune that guided the ships to new lands, while others claim it was the skill of the navigators, the precise readings of the stars and compass that made these discoveries possible. But even the most skilled sailors could not have anticipated the strange occurrences that often surrounded these voyages. Whether it was the sudden appearance of new land, or the way the winds would shift in impossible directions, like the sea itself had conspired to bring them closer to their goals. As you stand there, watching the horizon, you can't help but wonder if it's luck or something else entirely that's guiding you forward, something beyond your control, something far more powerful than you or any man aboard this ship. The crew continues their work in silence, but the unease remains. You feel it too, this creeping sense that something extraordinary is about to happen. You can almost taste it in the air, like a storm that's brewing just beneath the surface, waiting to burst forth. You've heard the legends, of course, the stories of sailors who found themselves swept into worlds they could never have imagined, of lands that appeared out of nowhere, of mythical creatures rising from the deep. And now it feels like you're on the cusp of one of those tales, on the brink of something that will forever change you. As the ship moves closer to the shimmering horizon, you try to steel yourself for whatever awaits. What if it's a new land, a place untouched by men, a paradise filled with riches and promise? Or maybe, just maybe, it's something darker, a place of nightmares that no man has ever returned from. The wind continues to pull you forward, faster now, the sails snapping with a renewed urgency. The crew watches, their faces tense but eager, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and anticipation. You know they're all thinking the same thing. What will we find when we reach the shore? The answer is still unknown, and you wonder if anyone will ever truly understand what drives men to search for the unknown, to brave the dangers of the sea and the mysteries it holds. Perhaps it's the promise of discovery or the lure of wealth. But there's something else, too, something deeper, the sense that, as long as you're on the sea, anything is possible. You could find paradise or peril, glory or ruin, but at least you'll have the chance to see it all, to know the truth. And so, with the ship surging forward, cutting through the waves, you know that the greatest part of this journey is yet to come. The winds carry you onward, and as the ship slices through the water, the horizon seems to draw closer. You can feel the electric anticipation in the air, buzzing between you and the crew, a collective sense of something just about to happen. You stand on the deck, eyes fixed on the shimmering distance, the strange pull of the unknown drawing you forward, faster and faster. The steady rhythm of the ship's movement beneath your feet feels almost hypnotic, as though the entire vessel is caught in the grip of some ancient, unspoken force. It's a strange sensation. The world seems to tilt, just slightly, like a door you're about to open, but aren't sure what's waiting on the other side. You've crossed these waters before, through the rough waves and stormy nights. But this is different. Something about it feels like a threshold, like you're standing at the precipice of a great discovery, one that will change everything you know about the world and your place in it. And then, just as the light begins to change, the first faint outline of land appears on the horizon. It's distant, barely more than a shadow, but you can't mistake the shape. The shore, a new world. Your pulse quickens as you scan the scene before you, the thrill of discovery rushing in like a wave. But as you draw closer, the feeling that has lingered in the back of your mind, the one that has been gnawing at you, grows stronger. There's something unsettling about the land ahead, something that feels almost too still, as if it's waiting for you. The wind shifts again, whispering through the rigging, and the ship sails onward, as if driven by some unseen hand. You try to shake off the discomfort. After all, this is what you've been waiting for. The whole purpose of this journey was to discover new lands, to map the unknown and lay claim to something no one else has seen before. Yet, as the ship nears the land, there's an uncanny silence in the air. It's as if the ocean itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to unfold. The crew's quiet whispers grow louder as they notice the same thing. They exchange nervous glances, some looking out at the approaching shore, others staring at the sky. The uneasy tension is palpable. You're not sure whether they're feeling the same pull you are. The quiet warning that something is not quite right. But there's no turning back now. The captain stands at the helm, his gaze fixed on the land ahead. His face is set, unreadable, and you can sense the weight of the moment pressing on him. He's been here before, charting unknown territories, but this land is different. You can see it in the way he grips the wheel, the slight furrow of his brow. He knows something you don't, but he's not saying it out loud. As the ship edges closer, the land becomes clearer. It's unlike anything you've seen before, lush and green. A tropical paradise, perhaps, but there's an eerie quality to it. The trees sway gently in the breeze, their dark shapes looming over the shore like sentinels. The beaches are untouched, the sand white and smooth, and yet something about it feels off. The silence stretches out before you like a heavy fog, thick and impenetrable, as though the land itself is waiting for you to step onto it. Historians still argue whether the explorers of the Age of Discovery truly understood the consequences of their actions, when they first made contact with the new lands. Was it discovery, or was it invasion? Some argue that these men were simply doing what they thought was right, bringing civilization to the so-called untouched lands of the world. Others suggest that they had no idea of the devastation they would leave in their wake: diseases, destruction, and cultural erasure. The land before you, lush and untouched, may soon be changed forever. The question is, will it be you who changes it, or will it change you instead? As the ship's bow crests the final wave, the land is right in front of you, no longer a shadow on the horizon, but a living, breathing reality. The wind pushes you closer to shore, and the crew begins to prepare, gathering ropes and supplies, readying themselves for what's to come. There's no going back, and in that moment, a sense of finality settles over you. Whatever happens next, the world will never be the same again. But as you stand there, staring at the land, a question hangs in the air. Are you truly prepared for what lies ahead? Or has the sea, once again, drawn you into its depths, where the answers are buried beneath the surface? The land calls to you, and you feel its pull. But the sea still whispers, her voice low and distant, reminding you that everything you've learned on these waters may not be enough. What happens next is beyond your control, but you know that no matter what you find, the ocean will remain vast, eternal, and always waiting for the next voyage. The ship drifts closer to shore, the water now a deeper blue as the coastline comes into sharper view. It's a mesmerizing sight, but that unsettling stillness is growing in intensity, gnawing at the edges of your nerves. The crew moves with purpose, preparing to anchor the ship and disembark. There's a shared sense of excitement, but beneath it, a quiet apprehension lingers in the air. No one is speaking much. Everyone is too focused on the land ahead, too unsure of what they'll find when they step onto that strange new shore. The captain calls out orders, his voice firm but strained, a slight tension in his posture. You notice that his eyes never leave the land, his gaze almost protective, as though he's unsure of something but doesn't want to acknowledge it aloud. It's clear that something about this landing feels different, but what it is, no one can say. As the ship slows and the anchor drops with a heavy clang, you can't help but marvel at the stark contrast between the land and the ship. The ship is weathered, beaten by the sea, and yet here, before you, is this untouched paradise, untouched, at least, by human hands. The trees stretch high into the sky, their trunks thick and strong, and vines snake up their bark like nature's own intricate tapestry. The beach is pristine, untouched by the footprints of any soul. The only evidence of life is the soft rustling of the wind through the leaves and the faint calls of birds in the distance. You hear a soft murmur from the crew. Some speak in low tones, exchanging glances, while others stand silently, gazing out at the shore, lost in their thoughts. It's as though the land before you is too beautiful, too pristine to touch. For all the excitement of discovery, there's a growing sense that perhaps it's better to leave it undisturbed. Historians still argue whether the first explorers truly understood what it meant to discover new lands. Did they see the beauty of the untouched world around them? Or were they blinded by the promise of riches and conquest? Some scholars suggest that far from bringing civilization, these early explorers brought a great tragedy, unwittingly spreading disease and devastation. What would this land look like after the touch of man? The thought lingers in your mind, a whisper of doubt that threatens to take root. The silence is broken by the captain's command to disembark. The crew begins to prepare to lower the longboats into the water. You're caught between a strange mix of excitement and unease, and you can't quite put your finger on why. As you step into the boat, the air feels heavier, as though the sea itself is watching you, waiting to see what you'll do next. You've crossed the ocean, battled storms, and ventured into the unknown, but nothing about this moment feels certain. The boat glides over the smooth surface of the water, the gentle ripples sending small waves lapping against the sides. The ship looms behind you, towering over the boat, and you feel small in comparison, as if you're about to enter a world much larger and older than yourself. The beach, once a distant idea, is now right there in front of you, and every stroke of the oars pulls you closer to something new, something wild and untamed. As you reach the shore, the boat scrapes gently against the sand, and you step out onto the beach, your boots sinking slightly into the soft, powdery sand. It's warm beneath your feet, the ground solid and unmoving, and for a moment you just stand there, taking it all in. The air smells different here, cleaner, fresher, with a hint of earth and vegetation. It's a world that feels separate from the one you left behind, a place that time has forgotten. The crew begins to disembark one by one, their expressions a mixture of awe and uncertainty. You follow, your heart pounding in your chest, each step drawing you further into the unknown. It's hard to explain the feeling you have. It's a strange combination of excitement, fear, and wonder. You've dreamed of this moment for months, but now that it's here, you wonder if you're truly ready to face whatever it holds. You take a deep breath, the unfamiliar air filling your lungs, and glance around at the others. There's a collective hesitation in their movements, an unspoken understanding that this land is not something they fully comprehend yet. No one knows what lies ahead, and no one knows how the land will respond to their presence. The silence between the crew is palpable, like a shared awareness that whatever happens next will change everything. As you take the first few steps away from the shore, you feel the weight of the journey press down on you. The sea behind you is vast and endless, but it no longer feels like a comfort. It feels distant, as if you've crossed into another world, a place where the rules of the ocean no longer apply. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore seems far away now, muted by the sounds of the land, the rustling leaves, the distant calls of birds, the faint buzz of insects in the air. The crew begins to spread out, exploring the beach and the nearby forest, but everyone keeps a safe distance from one another, as though unsure of what's safe to touch and what's not. The land, for all its beauty, feels alive. It's as if the trees, the ground, even the air are waiting for something, watching. You try to ignore the unease creeping into your bones as you walk further into the forest, your feet crunching lightly against the dry leaves and twigs beneath you. You hear the captain's voice in the distance, calling for the crew to gather. There's something about the urgency in his tone that makes you quicken your pace, though you're not sure what you're walking toward. And then you hear it, something distant, yet unmistakable, a sound unlike anything you've ever heard, a low, mournful howl. Carried on the wind, you stop dead in your tracks, your heart hammering in your chest. The crew freezes. The land is quiet again, save for the distant sound that echoes through the trees. No one moves. The forest seems to hold its breath, waiting, and you too hold yours. The howl reverberates through the trees, a chilling sound that sends a shiver up your spine. It's not the cry of an animal you've ever heard before. Deep, haunting, like something otherworldly. The crew stands frozen, their faces pale as they exchange nervous glances, unsure whether to advance or retreat. The forest around you seems to darken, the shadows growing longer despite the bright midday sun. For a moment, all is still, as though the world itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. The captain's voice breaks the silence. "Back to the shore," he commands, his tone sharp and decisive. There's an edge to his voice that makes you hesitate. You've followed orders without question before, but something in his voice tells you that this time there's more at play than a simple fear of the unknown. You turn back toward the beach, your boots crunching in the dry leaves and underbrush. But the sound of the howl lingers in the air, like a shadow that refuses to fade. It gnaws at you, pulling at your mind, making you question everything about this land, its silence, its stillness, and now this strange cry that echoes through the trees. As you walk, you notice that the air feels heavier, thicker, almost as though it's pressing in on you. The crew moves with a sense of urgency now, their eyes darting toward the trees. their hands gripping weapons that were once only for show. Everyone is on edge, and it's clear that the excitement of discovery has faded, replaced by something darker, something primal. The land is no longer a place of wonder. It's a place that demands respect, and it's clear that you have yet to understand its true nature. When you reach the shore, you can see that the others have gathered near the boat, their faces taut with apprehension. The captain stands at the front, his eyes scanning the trees, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. He looks as though he's ready to order a retreat at any moment, but the crew waits, uncertain. The unease in the air is palpable, and you can't shake the feeling that you've stepped into a story that's been waiting for you, waiting for your arrival to write its next chapter. It's then that the howl sounds again, louder this time, closer. It shakes the very ground beneath your feet, the sound vibrating through your bones. You've heard many things in your time at sea, wind howling through the rigging, waves crashing against the hull. But this is different. This is not the sound of nature. This is the sound of something alive, something that has been waiting in the dark. For a moment, everything goes quiet. You hold your breath, the world around you feeling suspended in time. And then, without warning, the trees begin to move. At first, it's subtle, a rustle, a shift in the underbrush. But soon, the movement becomes undeniable. Something is coming through the trees, and whatever it is, it's big. The crew draws their weapons, forming a loose circle around the boat. The captain motions for silence, his eyes scanning the forest. No one speaks, but everyone is tense, waiting. You can feel the adrenaline coursing through your veins, your heart pounding in your chest as the seconds stretch into eternity. And then, from the shadows of the trees, a shape emerges, a figure that is taller than any man, its form a blur of motion, as if it's not entirely solid. For a moment, you can't tell if it's a trick of the light or some creature of myth and legend brought to life. The shape moves with unnatural speed, its limbs long and sinewy, its body covered in strange, patchy fur. But it doesn't approach the crew. Instead, it stops just at the edge of the forest, its eyes glowing with an eerie light, watching you. There's no sound now, just the weight of its gaze. The air is thick with tension, the only noise the sound of your own breath. It's as though the world has paused, and you can do nothing but stand and stare, locked in place by some primal force that you don't understand. Historians still debate the nature of such encounters, whether the early explorers truly came face to face with mythic creatures, or whether these creatures were the product of overactive imaginations, conjured up in the face of fear and isolation. Could this creature be the result of sailors' superstitions? Or is it something far more real, something the land has kept hidden for centuries? It's impossible to say, but in this moment, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the creature before you, its eyes burning into yours. The captain takes a slow step forward, his hand still on his sword. He seems to be considering something, whether to fight, to retreat, or to wait. But before anyone can make a move, the creature raises one arm, slowly and deliberately, and with a flick of its wrist, the trees behind it shift once more. The ground shakes again, and you hear something else, another sound, deeper and more resonant than the howl. It's a rumbling, like the earth itself is groaning, shifting in some way you can't understand. The creature doesn't move forward, but its presence is undeniable. It watches, waiting, as if to gauge your next move. With a sharp motion, the captain signals the crew to fall back. You turn quickly, your heart racing, and begin to head for the boat. The crew follows, their footsteps hurried, but you can't help but glance back once more. The creature is still standing there, unmoving, watching as you retreat toward the shore. The boat seems farther away than it ever has, the water now feeling more like an escape than a journey. You don't look back again as you reach the boat, but you can feel the creature's eyes on you, and the weight of its gaze lingers long after you've stepped into the boat and begun to row. The land that once felt like an untouched paradise now seems like a place from which you should flee. And as you push away from the shore, the wind shifting behind you, you know this is only the beginning of something you may never fully understand. The boat skims over the water, the rhythmic splash of the oars, a welcome sound amidst the palpable tension that hangs heavy in the air. The crew is silent now, each man lost in his thoughts, eyes constantly darting back to the shoreline. The distant shape of the creature fades as you pull farther from the beach, but its presence lingers in the pit of your stomach. The land that once held the promise of discovery now seems like a place of ancient mystery, one whose secrets were never meant to be uncovered. As you approach the ship, you can see the crew above deck, some of them standing in anxious groups, others peering over the edge, clearly wondering what happened on the shore. The captain remains still, his gaze fixed on the open water, his face unreadable. You don't know if he's relieved, afraid, or simply lost in thought. Either way, there's no more talk of exploration. The promise of new lands and riches has been overshadowed by a sense of dread, something that has crept into the hearts of the men and settled deep within your own chest. When you finally reach the ship and climb back aboard, the crew begins to move with a purpose, preparing the sails, checking the rigging, as if trying to regain some semblance of normalcy. The storm from days ago now seems like a distant memory, replaced by this new and far more unsettling terror. You can't help but wonder what you've awakened on that land, what forces you've disturbed by setting foot on its soil. As the ship begins to pull away from the shore, You glance back at the land one last time. The trees stand tall, the beaches undisturbed, the air still. But it's no longer the paradise it seemed when you first set your sights on it. It's a place that holds something darker, something ancient, and you don't know if you'll ever truly understand it. But there's no going back now. The crew is silent. The only sound the creaking of the ship as it cuts through the water. You can't shake the feeling that the land is still watching, waiting for you to return. And perhaps, in some twisted way, you will. Historians still argue about the psychology of exploration during the Age of Discovery. Was it the thirst for knowledge that drove men to explore new worlds? Or was it the hunger for power, for conquest? Many argue that what drove these men to journey into the unknown wasn't just the desire to find new lands, but to conquer the fear that comes with the unfamiliar. And now, in the face of the creature on the shore, that fear feels more real than it ever has before. It's no longer just about discovering a new place. It's about surviving it. The crew works in silence, the tension thick between you all, and you can sense that no one is quite the same after what happened on the shore. The uncertainty of the future hangs over you all like a storm cloud, and there's no telling when it will break. As the ship pulls farther from the land, you feel the pull of the ocean once again, the steady rhythm of the waves lulling you into a familiar, comforting lull. But even as the ship moves farther away, you can still hear that howl echoing in your mind. Its eerie resonance, a reminder of the force that waits, hidden beneath the surface. The world around you seems to grow smaller with each passing day. The ocean, once vast and endless, now feels like a vast expanse you cannot escape. The pull of the land, of its mysteries and dangers, seems to follow you across the waters, like a shadow that you cannot outrun. And yet, as you sail further away, you know deep down that the world is still out there, filled with secrets, with creatures, with forces beyond your understanding. And so you sail onward, not knowing where the winds will take you next. The unknown is always just ahead, always waiting. The sea has taught you that much, but the land has shown you something darker, something that can never be fully understood. You can't help but feel the weight of it all pressing down on you. What lies beyond the horizon? Will the next land be a paradise, or another cursed mystery waiting to unfold? The ocean seems endless, but it's the land that calls to you now. And despite the fear that grips you, you know you will never stop searching for it. The days pass in quiet reflection. The hum of the ocean beneath you and the soft flapping of the sails, the only sounds that keep you company. The ship cuts through the calm sea, its course set, but there's no real sense of direction anymore. You've left the land behind, but the weight of what happened there lingers in the air, pressing down on your shoulders like an invisible storm cloud. The howl still echoes in your mind, a reminder of the strange creature that watched you as you fled, and that unsettling feeling that the land itself might have been watching, waiting for you to leave. It's hard to shake the sense of dread that's taken root in the pit of your stomach. There's a silence aboard the ship now, one that wasn't there before. The crew moves like ghosts, their eyes constantly flicking toward the horizon, as if they're afraid of something they can't quite explain. There's no more joking, no more camaraderie. Every man aboard seems to carry the same weight, the same unspoken fear, and it's hard not to feel it too. Even the captain, usually so stoic and composed, seems more distant now, his gaze always fixed on the distant waters, lost in thought. But the sea doesn't care about fear. It doesn't care about the shadows that haunt your mind, or the strange creatures lurking just beyond the edge of the known world. The waves rise and fall, indifferent to your presence, indifferent to your concerns. The ship moves on, its sails catching the wind as you continue your journey into the unknown. You've passed islands before, small patches of land that seem to rise from the sea, like forgotten remnants of a world long gone. Each island offers the same stark reality, untouched beauty, but also danger lurking just out of sight. The land calls to you, but it also holds its secrets. And for every discovery made, there's always something hidden in the shadows, waiting. As the days stretch on, you find yourself staring at the horizon more and more. It's as if the ocean itself has become a mirror of your own uncertainty. The land you left behind is distant now, just another memory fading with each passing wave. But the sea still holds its mysteries. It's a world that's both familiar and alien, a vast expanse that has seen countless men come and go, but still remains largely unknown. It's in these quiet moments that you wonder about the other sailors who ventured out like this, those who sailed before you, and those who will sail after. What was it that drove them? Was it a desire for glory, for treasure, for the thrill of discovery? Or was it something deeper, something more primal, a need to conquer the unknown, to face the fear that comes with stepping into a world that can't be fully understood? Historians still debate the motivations behind the voyages of discovery. Some claim it was the search for wealth that drove explorers to sail into uncharted waters, while others argue that it was the thirst for knowledge, the desire to map the unknown and expand the borders of the known world. But there's a third possibility that few are willing to acknowledge. Maybe it was the fear of what lay beyond the horizon. Maybe it was the need to confront the darkness of the unknown, to prove that humanity could survive and thrive in a world that was still wild and untamed. After all, the sea itself is an embodiment of that fear, the constant reminder that there are forces far beyond our understanding, and no matter how much we conquer, there's always something lurking just beyond the edge of the map. It's a thought that nags at you as you stand on the deck, watching the endless waves stretch out before you. The ship continues its journey, but the future feels uncertain. You know you can't stop searching, can't stop exploring, because that's what brought you here in the first place. It's what drives every sailor, every explorer, this insatiable hunger for discovery. But you also know that there's always a cost to it, always something you're willing to risk in the pursuit of the unknown. And so the days pass. The sun rises and sets in the same predictable pattern. The stars above seem to follow the same course, and the sea continues to stretch on, never ending. You've left the land behind, but the questions it raised still remain. What was that creature you saw on the shore? What was the true nature of the land? And more importantly, why does it still feel as though something is watching you, even now as you sail farther away from it? The sea remains silent in its answer, offering no explanation, no resolution. It's as if it, too, is a part of the mystery, endless, unknowable, forever waiting. The crew continues their work, keeping busy with the maintenance of the ship, but it's clear that the shadow of that encounter still hangs over them. The usual rhythm of the ship feels disrupted now, like a song that's been slightly off beat, never quite matching the melody. But there's no time to dwell on it. The wind picks up once again, and you feel the familiar tug of the sea, pushing the ship forward toward yet another horizon. You don't know what lies beyond it, but you know this much: you'll never stop seeking it. The sea will always be there, beckoning you onward. And no matter how far you go, how many mysteries you uncover, there will always be another horizon, just out of reach, waiting to be discovered. The ship continues its steady journey, cutting through the waves with a quiet certainty. But even the steady rhythm of the sea can erase the tension that hangs in the air. The crew moves as if they're in a trance, each man absorbed in his tasks, but carrying the weight of that unspoken fear that lingers in the depths of their minds. The land behind you feels farther away with each passing day, but the unease remains, as if it's been sewn into the very fabric of the ship. It's in the way the crew exchanges quick, nervous glances when they think no one's watching, in the way they speak in hushed tones when they do speak at all. You've never seen the men so quiet. The camaraderie that once thrived on deck, the easy banter and shared laughter, has been replaced by a silence that hangs over everything. It's the silence of uncertainty, the kind that gnaws at your insides, making you wonder what you've truly uncovered in this journey. It's hard to tell if the fear stems from the creature on the shore or from something more insidious, something that lurks in the shadows of the unknown. The ocean, vast and eternal, seems to echo the same questions, its waves relentlessly pushing forward, urging the ship onward, but never offering any answers. Each night, as the stars twinkle overhead, you lie in your hammock, trying to drift off to sleep. But sleep doesn't come easily. The howl from the shore still lingers in your mind, the sound echoing through the empty chambers of your thoughts. What was it? What did you disturb when you set foot on that land? What does it want from you? These questions plague you, circling like sharks just beneath the surface of your mind. The night seems darker, deeper than it ever has before, and no amount of stars can erase the feeling that something out there is watching. The crew has begun to whisper again, speaking of strange phenomena, things they've seen on the horizon, things that move in the water when there should be nothing there. At first, it seems like the typical sailor superstition, but the stories have a weight to them now, as though the boundaries between myth and reality have begun to blur. The sea that once felt like a vast playground of adventure now feels like an untamed, dangerous force, one that doesn't care if you live or die. As you sit on deck one afternoon, watching the waves roll gently by, you catch a glimpse of something strange on the horizon, an object that doesn't belong. It's hard to make out at first, just a blur on the water, but as you stare, it becomes clearer. It's large, too large to be anything natural, too large to be a ship, or a whale, or anything you've seen before. The crew notices too, their expressions shifting from confusion to unease. It's too far to make out clearly, but the sight of it makes your stomach churn. The captain orders the ship to change course, steering you farther away from the mysterious shape. The crew watches silently, their eyes fixed on the horizon, as if hoping it will disappear. But it doesn't. It remains, hovering in the distance, like a silent sentinel, watching you as you move farther away. No one speaks of it, but the presence of it is undeniable, hanging over the ship like a dark cloud. Historians still debate the nature of the unknown that early explorers faced. Were the strange occurrences they reported simply the product of an overactive imagination? Or was there something else, something hidden beneath the surface of the ocean that they couldn't understand? Some believe that the sailors of the Age of Discovery were merely encountering the same myths that had been passed down through generations, creatures of the deep, ghosts of ships long lost, or simply the unknown forces of nature. But when you stare at that shadow on the horizon, you can't help but wonder if it's something more, something real, something that's been there all along, watching, waiting. The ship continues its course, but the crew is on edge. The winds, once steady and predictable, now seem to shift unexpectedly, blowing with a strange force that unsettles the crew. No one speaks about the shadow on the horizon, but its presence is felt by all. The strange shape lingers in the distance, a constant reminder that there are things in this world, things in the deep, that no one understands. And though you try to push the thought from your mind, it continues to haunt you. The sea is vast, and the land is far behind you now, but the ocean still holds its mysteries. Perhaps it always will. The winds, the currents, the creatures lurking beneath the waves, they are all part of this world, a world that you will never fully understand. You've seen the unknown, and now you know that the sea is not just a place of adventure. It's a place of ancient power, a power that can never truly be conquered. And so you sail on. The land behind you is a fading memory, but the mysteries of the sea are just beginning. The shadow on the horizon remains, a dark presence that will continue to haunt you, whether you seek answers or not. The journey, it seems, is far from over. The shadow remains, a silent presence just beyond the edge of the ship's bow. The crew goes about their work, but the air is thick with tension. No one speaks of the strange shape on the horizon, but it's there, lingering in the back of everyone's minds, a constant reminder of the unknown forces at play. The ship moves steadily onward, but the familiar rhythm of the journey has been replaced by a quiet sense of dread. The sea, once a vast and exciting frontier, now feels like a vast expanse of uncertainty, full of secrets that no one can quite explain. It's hard to tell whether it's the shadow itself that is causing the unease, or the fact that no one can make sense of it. It doesn't move, doesn't change, just hovers in the distance like a great enigma. It's too far away to make out clearly, but every time you look at it, it seems to grow larger, more defined. Your mind tries to make sense of it, but each time you try to focus on the shape, it slips away from your understanding, as though it's somehow shifting, morphing into something that doesn't belong. The days stretch on, and still the shape remains. You find yourself staring at it more and more, your thoughts growing restless as you try to push it from your mind. The rest of the crew is in a similar state, speaking little, working in silence, their gazes often darting to the horizon. It's as if the shadow is slowly creeping into their thoughts, eroding the sense of purpose that once fueled this journey. Even the captain, usually so confident in his leadership, seems distant, as though he, too, is unsure of what lies ahead. The ship has become a place of quiet contemplation, a place where no one feels truly at ease. You've passed through rough seas, battled storms, faced the vast unknown, but this is different. There's something about this shadow that feels wrong, something that goes beyond the familiar fear of the unknown. It's as though this shape is waiting for you to approach it, to make the next move, but no one knows what that move should be. Historians often debate the psychology of exploration, especially when it comes to the fear and superstition that plagued sailors during the Age of Discovery. Some argue that fear of the unknown was a powerful motivator, while others suggest that the fear of what lay ahead was something more existential, a primal recognition of the dangers that lurked just out of sight. As you stand on the deck, staring at that shape in the distance, you wonder if the latter is true. Is it the shape itself that disturbs you, or the feeling that something beyond your control is shaping the course of this journey? The shape is not the only thing that has changed on this voyage. The weather, too, has shifted. The winds, once predictable, have become erratic. The sky, which was once clear and open, now seems overcast, heavy with the promise of something brewing just beneath the surface. The calm seas have given way to rolling swells, and the once gentle lapping of the water against the ship's hull has been replaced by an uneasy rhythm, as though the ocean itself is holding its breath. One afternoon, as you stand at the edge of the deck, watching the shadow in the distance, the captain calls out to the crew. His voice is firm, but there's an unmistakable hint of uncertainty in his tone. "Prepare the sails," he commands. "We'll change course." The crew moves quickly, no questions asked, but you can sense the hesitation in their movements. No one speaks, but the urgency of the captain's words hangs in the air. The wind shifts again, pushing the ship in the opposite direction. As the sails catch the wind and the ship turns, you glance once more at the shadow. For the first time, you see it shift, just slightly, as though it's responding to the change in course. It's a strange feeling, one that you can't shake. It's as though the shadow is aware of you, aware of the ship, and it's not content to let you simply pass by. There's a pull to it, a magnetic force that seems to draw your gaze, as though it's beckoning you closer. The captain doesn't speak again, but his expression is grim. He stands at the helm, his eyes fixed on the horizon, his hand steady on the wheel. The crew is quieter than ever, their eyes fixed on their work, but there's a sense of anxiety in the air, an undercurrent of tension that you can't ignore. The shadow grows larger as you move closer, its shape becoming more defined. But even as you approach, it remains just beyond your reach, like a forbidden fruit you can never quite touch. As the ship continues its course, you feel the weight of the moment press down on you. This is it, the culmination of your journey, the moment where the unknown will finally reveal its secrets. But what will you find? What lies ahead in the waters that you are about to enter? You can't help but feel that this is the beginning of something far greater than you ever expected. The shadow still lingers in the distance, and the sea continues to hum beneath the ship, its movements growing more restless with each passing hour. There's a deep sense of foreboding in the air, and you realize that the journey you set out on has changed. It's no longer about discovery, it's about survival. Whatever this shadow is, whatever it represents, it's clear that the sea has more to teach you than you ever could have imagined, and you have no choice but to face it head on. The crew continues its work, but you know that things are different now. The question is no longer whether you will find new lands or treasures. It's whether you will survive what's out there waiting for you. The air grows heavier with each passing day, and the shadow that had once appeared so distant now looms ever closer. It moves, slowly but unmistakably, like a dark presence stalking your every step. You try to look away, to focus on something, anything else, but each glance at the horizon pulls your gaze back to it. The ship continues its course, but the wind, now erratic and unpredictable, seems to carry the weight of something ancient, something that's been waiting here far longer than any of you have been alive. The crew works in silence, the normal rhythm of life on the sea disrupted. They whisper, though just barely, voices lowered to avoid even the smallest echo of fear. You catch bits and pieces, tales of things they've heard of in passing, sailors' superstitions, ghost stories told in far-off taverns, things about spirits that walk the sea, about ships that vanish, about deep places in the ocean where strange forces lie dormant, waiting. But it's clear, by the fear in their eyes, that none of them are quite ready to acknowledge what's before you now. The shadow on the horizon is no longer an abstract thing. It has taken shape. Now, as you look at it, you can see more clearly something massive, slowly shifting against the backdrop of the sky. The shape of it, though still hard to fully define, seems almost as though it's made of the sea itself, as though it's a part of the very fabric of the ocean. You feel as if the sea is reaching out for you, as if it's calling you toward it, beckoning you closer, and yet you can't explain why you feel so compelled. The captain stands at the helm, his hand steady, but his eyes wide with something unspoken. For a moment, his usual air of authority seems to falter, and you see a flicker of doubt, just a brief moment where he's unsure, just like the rest of you. But he quickly regains control, his voice firm as he calls to the crew, issuing orders to prepare for what comes next. Still, there's a hesitation in his movements, a slow deliberation, as if each command is weighed against an unknown cost. The men are alert, their eyes flickering nervously between their duties and the dark shape ahead. Even those who've weathered storms and fought pirates seem to feel the weight of the unseen force drawing nearer. For the first time, the sea seems to have taken on a character of its own, a living, breathing entity full of secrets and threats. And as the days drag on, the shadow grows larger still, like a beast roused from its slumber. Historians argue whether sailors during the Age of Discovery ever truly believed in the mythical creatures they spoke of. Giants that lived in the deep, serpents of the ocean, monsters lurking just beneath the surface. Were they simple fables, spun to explain the unexplainable? Or was there something deeper at play, something that defies the logic of the known world? As you stare at the shadow, the thought lingers. What if these tales weren't just stories? What if they were warnings passed down through generations from men who had seen things they couldn't understand? As the shape looms closer, the crew braces itself. The air has changed, thick with tension. You stand near the rail, watching as the shadow begins to define itself more clearly, becoming a solid mass against the horizon. But even as it grows nearer, there's still something intangible about it, like it's not quite real, or maybe it's more real than you can comprehend. The silence that envelops the ship is deafening, broken only by the occasional creaking of wood or the snap of the sails. But even those sounds seem muffled by the weight of the moment. It's only when the ship draws closer that you begin to realize the magnitude of what lies ahead. What had once been a distant shape now seems to stretch across the horizon, and you begin to see that it's not just a single object, but a formation, a collection of shapes that move together, fluid and interconnected, like a single organism of the sea. It's both mesmerizing and terrifying, something that shouldn't be, but is. The captain gives another order, a terse command to change the course once again. But it's clear now that there's no escaping what you've found. The crew's movements become more frantic as the realization sets in that you are no longer simply sailing toward a new land, a new discovery. No, you are sailing into something older, something that doesn't care about the claims of explorers or the ambitions of men. The ship sways slightly in the rising tide, and the sea churns beneath you, its surface dark and turbulent. The shape continues to approach, and now you can see something more. The formation seems to break apart, revealing massive, shifting waves that surge up like columns of water, twisting and curling, almost as though they're alive. They move with a rhythm that feels deliberate, purposeful. The ocean itself seems to be pushing you toward it, as if it has made its decision, and there's no turning back now. The men on deck are wide-eyed, some clutching the sides of the ship, others muttering prayers under their breath. The captain remains at the helm, his face grim, his eyes fixed on the formation ahead. It's clear that whatever happens next will change everything. You're no longer simply a part of the crew on a journey of discovery. You're standing at the edge of something primal, something untouched by the hands of men. And as the ship draws closer to the formation, there's only one thing you know for certain. You are about to face something far beyond your understanding, something that could either reveal the true nature of the sea or swallow you whole. The ship edges closer, the ominous formation growing larger with each passing moment. The sea has transformed beneath your feet, once a familiar and predictable force, now a living entity that feels more alien with every second. The waves are no longer gentle, no longer predictable. They pulse with an unearthly rhythm, rising up like dark columns of water, their surfaces gleaming in the dimming light of the late afternoon. It's as though the ocean itself is a great beast, stretching out its long arms toward you, urging you forward, beckoning you closer. The crew is in a state of barely contained panic. Some men clutch the sides of the ship, eyes wide and filled with a mix of fear and awe. Others pace nervously, muttering to themselves in low, anxious tones, casting nervous glances at the horizon and back to the captain. There's a frantic energy in the air, like a storm is gathering just beyond the horizon. But it's not a storm that they're afraid of, not in the traditional sense. No, this is something different, something older. The land you sought no longer feels like a prize. It feels like a curse, a place you should have never ventured toward. The captain stands at the helm, his hands tight on the wheel, but his face is drawn with an unfamiliar tension. You've seen him command storms and calms alike with the unshakable confidence of a man who's mastered the sea. But this is something different. He's not merely steering the ship anymore. He's holding on, just like the rest of you, waiting for something to happen. You know he feels it too, the strange, suffocating energy that pulses through the air and the water, as though some unseen force is pulling you into its grasp. Then, just as you think the ship can go no closer, a massive wave surges up from beneath the surface of the water, sending the ship lurching forward with a violent jolt. Men are thrown to the deck, some grasping desperately for anything to hold on to, others scrambling for their footing, eyes wide with terror. The ship creaks under the strain, its timbers groaning as it fights against the growing power of the waves. The once constant rhythm of the sea is now chaotic, unpredictable, and you realize with a chill that the ship is no longer simply at the mercy of the ocean. It's in a battle with it. And yet, despite the chaos, you can't help but feel a strange pull toward the formation, the twisted, shifting water ahead. It's like something is calling to you, drawing you in, but you can't tell if it's the sea itself or something more ancient, something older than time. There's a whisper in the wind, just at the edge of hearing, and you strain to listen, but it's gone as soon as you think you've caught it. The sound, if you could call it that, is soft, like a breath, but there's a sense of power behind it that chills your bones. The ship's motion becomes more violent, and the crew begins to shout commands to one another, trying to regain control of the rigging to steady the sails. But it's as if the ship itself is beyond control now, as if it has become a part of this strange force. There's no rhythm to the way it moves, just an erratic lurching, like a beast caught in a storm of its own making. You glance up at the sky, but the stars are obscured by the thickening clouds. The sun, once bright and warm, has long since disappeared, and the world around you feels like a twilight you can't escape. The light is dim, the shadows stretching long and dark across the water. It's as though the world is on the edge of something vast, something unknowable, and you have no idea what will happen once you cross over that threshold. The captain's voice rings out, sharp and commanding, but there's an edge of desperation in it now. Hold fast, prepare for the worst. But even as he shouts, you sense that he, too, isn't sure what the worst will look like. The sea is changing, bending in ways that defy logic, and nothing can prepare you for what lies ahead. Suddenly, another wave rises, this one larger than the rest, towering above the ship like a wall of water. The crew shouts in unison as the ship is thrown violently upward, the mast creaking under the strain. And for a heart-stopping moment, you're certain the ship will snap in two. The deck tilts at an impossible angle, and you feel yourself weightless for a brief moment, suspended in the air, before gravity pulls you back down hard. The ship's keel slams into the water with an ear-splitting crash, sending a spray of seawater high into the air. Through the chaos, you catch a glimpse of something in the water. A massive form, darker than the waves around it, breaking the surface just long enough for you to see it. It's a shape, fluid and shifting, like the very ocean itself has come alive. You can't make out the details, but it's clear that it's huge, far larger than anything you've ever seen. It moves with an impossible speed, its presence undeniable. It disappears beneath the waves again, leaving the ship rocking violently in its wake. The men are silent now, each one stunned by what they've just witnessed. The crew's fear has turned to something else, something primal, a deep, gut-wrenching terror that none of them can hide. The shadow on the horizon is no longer distant. It is here, now, and you realize with a sinking feeling that you're no longer in control of this journey. The sea has claimed you, and there's no way to escape. Historians debate whether sailors of old were driven mad by the isolation of the sea, whether the endless horizon and the fear of the unknown caused them to see things that weren't there. Some say the great tales of sea monsters and lost ships were merely exaggerations born of fear and the need to explain the unexplainable. But standing here on this ship, surrounded by a crew who's now witnessed the impossible, you can't shake the feeling that the old tales may not be as fantastical as they seemed. This is no myth. This is real. The sea is alive, and it's far older, far more powerful than you ever imagined. The ship lurches again, and this time there's no mistaking it. The water beneath you is alive, twisting with a force that seems to ripple out from some deep, ancient place, as though the ocean itself is waking up. The waves are growing larger now, rising like the hands of a great beast emerging from the depths, clawing at the ship with relentless, deafening force. The crew fights to maintain control, but it's clear that the ship is no longer obeying their commands. It's caught in the currents, dragged forward by some unseen power. The familiar rhythm of the sea has been replaced with chaos, a violent, unforgiving struggle for survival. The captain shouts orders, but his voice is drowned out by the sound of the wind howling through the rigging and the crash of waves against the hull. His face is hard to read, but his eyes, wide with uncertainty, flicker toward the horizon, the shape that still looms there, now clearer and more menacing than ever. It feels as if it's drawing closer, no longer content to remain just a shadow in the distance. Now, it feels as though it's reaching for you, its massive presence hanging over the ship, threatening to consume you. The crew scrambles to secure the sails, their movements frantic, but it's clear that nothing they do will make a difference. The sea has taken control, and the ship is at the mercy of forces far beyond your understanding. You clutch the edge of the deck, your knuckles white with the effort as the ship pitches violently. You catch glimpses of something moving beneath the waves, something large, dark, and impossibly fast, surging beneath the surface like a predator stalking its prey. You dare not look for long, but the image of it haunts your mind, the shape of it, fluid and shifting, as though it's a part of the sea itself. It's almost as if the water is living, breathing, pulsing with a life all its own, and whatever it is that lives beneath it has no intention of letting you go. Then another crash. The ship's timber groan under the strain, and you hear a sickening creak, followed by a splintering sound that makes your blood run cold. The ship is breaking, slowly but surely. The keel snaps under the pressure, and for a brief, terrifying moment, the world tilts at a sharp angle. Men scramble to hold on as the water floods the deck, washing over the ship in thick, heavy sheets. You're thrown against the side, and the world becomes a blur of water, wood, and chaos. The captain shouts something, orders to abandon ship, but the words barely reach you over the roar of the waves. The crew is in disarray now, panic taking hold as the sea itself seems to rise up, pulling the ship deeper into its clutches. The dark shape from beneath the water is no longer just a shadow. It has become real, tangible, and it's circling the ship, waiting for the moment when it can strike. You fight to stay on your feet, your heart pounding in your chest as the crew scrambles to lower lifeboats. But the water is rising fast, and you know that time is running out. The ship is sinking, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. The shape beneath the water is drawing closer still, its presence almost overwhelming, as though it's coming to claim what's left of the ship and its crew. In a blur of motion, you find yourself in a lifeboat, your hands gripping the sides as the crew paddles frantically toward the open water, away from the sinking ship. The waves crash around you, and you glance back one last time, only to see the ship, now almost completely submerged, being pulled under by the beast beneath the waves. It disappears beneath the surface, leaving nothing behind but a few scattered pieces of wood and the haunting sound of the water closing over it. The lifeboat rides the waves, tossed and turned by the violent swells. You hear the frantic cries of your fellow sailors as they row, but their voices are drowned out by the ever-growing sound of the storm. The wind howls, and the sea churns violently, as if trying to tear you apart, but you continue to row, unable to do anything but keep moving forward, away from the disaster that has consumed your ship. Historians still debate the fate of those who ventured too deep into the unknown during the Age of Discovery. Was it their hubris, their thirst for discovery, that led them to their end? Or was it simply the unyielding forces of nature, the powers that lurk beneath the waves, that decided their fate? Some say those who sailed too far found themselves face to face with creatures born from ancient myths, things that were never meant to be seen by man. Was this one of those creatures? Was it the ocean itself, angry and alive, coming to claim what was never meant to be discovered? As the lifeboat floats farther from the wreckage of your ship, you realize the answer may never be clear. The sea is full of mysteries, some that are simply beyond the comprehension of men. You've seen it for yourself, witnessed something that can't be explained, and now all you can do is survive. Whatever this thing is, whatever force you've unleashed, it's out there, waiting, and you're just one of many who've sought the unknown, only to find it staring back. And as you look out at the dark, endless expanse of the ocean, you wonder if you'll ever truly escape its grasp. The lifeboat drifts, tossed like a mere scrap of wood, on the vast, merciless ocean. The storm rages around you, the wind howling as it drives the waves higher and higher, slamming the boat from all sides. The crew, once a rowdy group full of purpose, is now reduced to a silent, exhausted band of survivors. You row in rhythm, but the strength has drained from you, each pull of the oar feeling heavier than the last. The world around you is a swirling, chaotic mass of water and sky, with the occasional flash of lightning illuminating the madness. You glance over your shoulder at the wreckage of your ship, barely visible through the torrents of rain and spray. It's gone now, swallowed up by the ocean, the once proud vessel, now a broken shell, drifting aimlessly in the water. There's no sign of the creature, the shadow that had once circled the ship and nearly devoured it. The deep, ominous force that had nearly destroyed you is gone, but the feeling of its presence lingers in the pit of your stomach. It feels as though the ocean itself is still watching you, waiting for you to falter. The men in the boat are silent, their faces grim and drawn. They're too tired to speak, too fearful to even glance at each other. No one dares to question the captain, though it's clear from his strained expression that even he is unsure of what to do next. There's no land in sight, no safe haven on the horizon, just an endless expanse of water, as dark and unfathomable as the night sky above you. The crew seems to have accepted the truth. This isn't a journey toward discovery anymore. It's a fight for survival, a desperate struggle to live another day. The promise of treasure, of fame, of glory has been replaced by something far more primal, the need to stay alive. Hours pass, or perhaps it's days. Time seems irrelevant now. You've lost all sense of it in the swirling chaos of the storm. There's only the constant motion of the waves, the cold spray of water, the occasional flash of lightning, and the rhythmic sound of the oars cutting through the water. The silence between the men is all-encompassing. The storm, it seems, has drowned out any hope of conversation. And then, in the distance, you see something. It's faint at first, a shadow against the horizon. But as the boat drifts closer, it becomes clearer. Land. It's a small island, barely more than a speck on the vast ocean, but it's land. The crew stirs slightly at the sight, their eyes brightening for the first time in what feels like forever. No one speaks, but the change in the air is palpable. The thought of solid ground beneath your feet is the only thing that's keeping you going now. The captain gives a sharp command, urging the crew to row with what little strength they have left. The lifeboat picks up speed as the island grows larger, its jagged coastline visible against the dark sky. It's small, but it's something, a chance. You push forward, each stroke of the oar bringing you closer to safety, to refuge from the storm that still churns around you. As you approach the island, you begin to see more detail. The beaches are rocky, the cliffs steep, and the trees that dot the shoreline are tall and twisted, as if the land itself has been shaped by some ancient force. There's no sign of human habitation, no sign of life beyond the dense, untamed wilderness. But it doesn't matter. It's land. It's a place to rest, a place to recover. At least, that's what you tell yourself as the boat finally crashes against the shore the waves throwing it forward with a final, violent push. The crew disembarks quickly, their legs shaking as they stumble onto the rocky beach. The sound of the ocean, once a constant companion, is now a distant roar behind you. You stand there for a moment, feet planted firmly on the ground, feeling the solid earth beneath you for the first time in what feels like ages. The storm still rages in the distance, but here, on the island, there's an eerie calm. The waves crash against the shore, but it feels different now, as if you've crossed into another world, a world that's untouched, wild, and full of untold dangers. As you look around, you realize just how isolated you are. There's no sign of other ships, no sign of any civilization. This island is a place forgotten by the world, and whatever forces you've encountered on this journey, whatever creatures, whatever ancient beings that dwell beneath the waves, remain unknown. Historians often speak of the uncharted territories that explorers came across during the Age of Discovery, places where maps ended, where the world became a vast unknown. But no map could prepare them for the real dangers they would face. The creatures, the storms, the forces beyond human understanding. You've seen it now. The ocean is not just a place of adventure. It is a place of power, of ancient forces that remain hidden beneath the waves, waiting for those who venture too far. As you survey the island, you know one thing for certain. This place, this new land, will not be kind to you. The journey isn't over. It's just begun. There's more to discover here, things that were never meant to be uncovered, and you have no choice but to face whatever awaits, knowing that the sea is never truly done with you. It's always watching, always waiting. The island feels as though it's holding its breath. You stand at the edge of the rocky beach, staring out at the churning sea, still restless even from this far inland. The storm rages off in the distance, but here the air is still, thick with humidity, and the scent of the wet earth fills your lungs. The land itself is an untamed mass of rock and forest, like an ancient memory of a world that's forgotten human touch. No roads, no signs of any civilization, only the jagged cliffs, twisted trees, and the strange quiet that surrounds you. The crew gathers on the beach, murmuring amongst themselves. Some are kneeling, their hands pressed against the cool rocks, offering silent thanks for their escape. Others stand, still scanning the horizon, as if expecting something or someone to appear. The air between you all is thick with the unspoken. You've made it to safety, yes, but what's next? What waits for you on this forsaken island? The captain takes a few slow steps forward, his boots crunching against the gravel, his face a mixture of exhaustion and weariness. His eyes are narrowed, not with fear, but with the kind of caution that only comes after surviving something that shouldn't have been survived. He turns to face the crew, his voice low but commanding. Gather the supplies. We need shelter. The men nod without hesitation, but no one speaks. The tension in the air is palpable. You can see it in the way they move, each one caught somewhere between relief and dread. No one knows what lies ahead, but they all know that the safety of the lifeboat and the wrecked ship is behind them. Now they are on their own. The island feels like both an escape and a trap, and the realization that you've stepped into the unknown once more weighs heavily on your shoulders. The captain begins to move, his eyes scanning the forest line, the trees dark and looming in the distance. There's something about this place that feels ancient, older than anything you've ever encountered. You can't explain it, but the very ground beneath your feet feels as though it's been untouched for millennia. It's as if you've stumbled into a place where time has forgotten itself, and now you're just another element in the strange, eternal cycle that governs this wild land. The crew starts to collect the remnants of your provisions, some of the supplies still salvageable from the wreck. The small boats are unloaded, and makeshift shelters are set up with the bits of canvas and rope you have left. It's a small, humble start, but for now, it will have to suffice. You try to ignore the feeling that the land is watching, as though the island itself knows you're trespassing. There's something unsettling about the silence, the stillness that presses against your skin. Not even the wind stirs the trees. As you work, you feel the weight of the night coming on. The sun sets slowly, casting long shadows over the landscape. There's a strange glow to the sky now, as if the light itself is different here, warmer but also dimmer, as though it's fading into something else, something beyond the horizon. The last rays of sunlight disappear, leaving the island in a deep twilight. You sit down on a patch of sand, staring at the makeshift shelter the crew is constructing. They move with purpose, but it's clear they're all on edge. Each step, each action feels like it's done under the watchful eye of something unseen. No one dares to speak of it aloud, but you know that every person here is wondering, what are we really dealing with? Historians still argue about the mindset of explorers who landed in uncharted territories during the age of discovery. Was it curiosity that led them to risk everything, to face the unknown without truly understanding the dangers? Or was it the sheer will to survive that drove them to push on, to forge ahead, even when they knew nothing would ever be the same? It's hard to say. In the moment, it doesn't matter. The island is here, and you've crossed over into a new phase of this journey. The question now is not why you're here, but what you'll do next. As you rise to your feet, something in the distance catches your eye. A flicker of movement at the edge of the trees. You freeze, staring into the darkness, heart pounding. It's gone before you can fully focus on it, but the air has shifted, the stillness broken by an unseen presence. Your breath catches in your throat, and for a moment, the world feels as though it's tilted just slightly off center. You blink, but when you look again, the shadows are still, the trees unmoving. The captain steps beside you, his gaze following yours to the trees, but he doesn't speak. Instead, he turns to the men, his voice steady but sharp. Keep the fire going. No one goes into the forest. Not yet. His words don't need to be repeated. The crew nods, and the feeling of tension deepens. Something's not right, and even if you can't see it, you know something is watching. The island's silent, watchful presence feels as oppressive as the air itself. It's not the welcoming land you hoped for. It's something older, something that doesn't care whether you're a sailor or a king. It is a place where you must survive by its rules, not your own. As the fire flickers on the beach, casting eerie shadows across the sand, you wonder just how much longer you'll be able to hold on to the fragile sense of hope you had when you first saw the land. This island has its secrets, and they're waiting for you to uncover them. But some secrets, you begin to realize, might be better left untouched. The night settles in with a quiet, unnerving finality. The fire crackles on the beach, its warm glow casting long shadows against the rugged landscape, but it offers little comfort. The men sit around it in silence, their eyes constantly flicking toward the dark forest that looms just beyond the firelight. They're exhausted, both physically and mentally, drained by the storms, the sinking ship, and now the uncertainty of what lies ahead. The sense of relief that came with finding land has long since faded, replaced by a gnawing suspicion that this island, this place, is not what it seems. The captain sits at the edge of the firelight, his back to the sea, his face unreadable as he stares into the dark horizon. He hasn't spoken much since arriving on the island, only giving quiet orders and watching the crew like a hawk. You can see it in his eyes, the same worry that lingers in your own chest, the sense that something is terribly wrong here. He's not a man given to fear, but this place, it unnerves him. It unnerves all of you. You can't help but feel like you're being watched by the island itself or something on it. The trees, gnarled and twisted, stand like silent sentinels, their long branches swaying gently in the breeze. It's hard to shake the feeling that they're alive, that the very earth you stand on is more than just dirt and rock. It's a living, breathing thing, full of ancient power and secrets. The island is full of contradictions. It's wild, untamed, yet eerily silent, as if waiting for you to make a mistake. You want to believe it's a haven, a place of refuge after the storm, but there's something about it that doesn't sit right. The land seems almost too perfect in its wildness, too untouched, as if it's been preserved for some reason, kept hidden until now. And now that you're here, you can't help but wonder if that's because it's meant to stay hidden, untouched by the hands of men. The wind picks up suddenly, and the fire flickers wildly, sending shadows dancing across the sand. A chill runs down your spine, but it's not from the cold. The air feels thick now, heavy with an unnatural stillness. You glance toward the forest again, and for a split second, you swear you see something move. A figure, perhaps, or the shadow of something large, passing through the trees. But when you blink, it's gone, leaving only the rustling of the leaves to fill the silence. Keep the fire burning. The captain's voice is low, but there's a sense of urgency behind it now. No one leaves the camp after dark. Understood? The crew nods, but you can see the tension in their faces. Some are already eyeing the jungle with a mixture of fear and curiosity, wondering what lies just beyond the firelight. They're all too aware of the strange sensation that clings to the air, the feeling that something is waiting. The island isn't just empty wilderness. It's full of secrets, and they're not secrets anyone is eager to uncover. You try to shake off the unease, the growing suspicion that you've stumbled into something far more dangerous than you anticipated. But as the night deepens, the unease only grows. The wind picks up, howling through the trees like a distant scream. The fire crackles and spits, casting erratic light that flickers over the faces of the men, casting them in strange, shifting shadows. You sit there, staring into the flames, but your thoughts keep drifting back to the movement you saw in the trees. It wasn't just a trick of the light. There was something there, something big. The thought of it makes your stomach churn. What was it? Is there something on this island, something alive, that doesn't want you here? The captain stands abruptly, his boots crunching on the sand as he walks toward the fire. He doesn't say a word, but his expression is grim. You follow his gaze to the jungle's edge, where the darkness seems to press in closer, as though the trees are watching. It feels like the island is alive, waiting, breathing, but you can't tell if it's the land itself or something else entirely. First light, the captain says, his voice low but firm. We'll head inland. Keep your weapons ready. We don't know what's out there. The crew nods, but you can tell they're nervous. They're more than nervous. They're afraid. No one here knows what to expect. And even the captain, as confident as he is, doesn't seem certain of what lies ahead. You don't blame him. You don't know what to expect either. The hours stretch on in an eerie stillness. The only sound the crackling of the fire and the occasional gust of wind that sweeps through the trees. The men huddle closer to the fire, their eyes darting to the darkened jungle, but no one speaks. The shadows grow longer as the night deepens, and soon the only light is the faint glow of the embers. But in the quiet, you hear something else, a soft rustling from the edge of the forest. It's distant, but unmistakable. You turn toward the sound, your breath catching in your throat. But by the time you look, it's gone. The silence returns, suffocating and thick. But now, you know that something is out there, something that's been watching you since the moment you set foot on this island. The night stretches on, and sleep becomes a distant thought. You can't afford to rest. There's something out there, and whether you like it or not, it's coming closer. Historians still argue whether the fear of the unknown was truly the greatest challenge faced by explorers of old. Some say it was the danger of the sea itself, pirates, storms, or the monsters of sailors' tales. Others suggest that the true terror came from the land, the places where humans were not meant to go, the dark places where ancient forces still lingered, untouched by time. As you sit by the fire, you can't help but feel that the land before you is one of those places, and it's not a place you're meant to understand. The hours creep on, each one seeming to stretch longer than the last. You remain by the fire, watching the embers burn down to their last flickers. The shadows grow deeper, the sound of the island louder as the wind sways the trees, but there's a distinct absence of life. No chirping of birds, no rustling of small creatures in the underbrush. It's as though the island has gone still, holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Your gaze drifts to the jungle again, and you swear you see movement in the darkness, a brief flash of something large. But when you blink, it's gone. It leaves a cold knot in your stomach, a sense of foreboding that refuses to loosen. The island is alive, yes, but it feels hostile, like a living creature that resents your presence, keeping watch from the edges of its domain. The captain stands, his posture tense as he surveys the surroundings. We move at first light. No one is to leave the camp until then. It's not a suggestion. It's an order, and it's one that the men follow without hesitation. They're too tired to argue, too afraid to challenge the captain. But as you look at their faces, you know they're not afraid of just the unknown land. They're afraid of what they might encounter within it. The fire crackles one last time before it begins to die out, and the cold sets in. The night seems to grow colder, more oppressive with every passing minute. Even the stars, visible above, appear distant, washed out by the dense air around you. You can't escape the feeling that this place is not only ancient, but also forgotten by time itself. A place that shouldn't be disturbed. The captain's voice breaks the silence again, low and deliberate. Keep your weapons ready. The forest might look empty, but nothing here is. The tension in the air thickens. You settle into the makeshift shelter you've set up near the fire, the soft rustle of the tarps around you only amplifying the silence. But your mind is too restless to sleep. You keep your eyes on the jungle, on the space just beyond the firelight. Every noise, every crackle of leaves makes your heart skip. You can feel the weight of something unseen, and every passing moment only makes you more certain that you're being watched. Eventually, your mind drifts, exhausted by the constant tension. Just as you begin to lose yourself to the edge of sleep, the sound comes again, a soft rustling from the edge of the forest. This time, it's closer, and it's followed by something you can't quite explain. The sound is almost like breathing, deep and rhythmic, the kind of breath that belongs to something far larger than a man. You sit up, heart racing, eyes wide, as you try to peer into the darkness. No one else stirs at first, but the tension is palpable. Then, from somewhere deep in the forest, a sound echoes, a low, guttural growl that seems to vibrate the very air around you. The captain is on his feet in an instant, his voice sharp as he calls for the crew to gather around the fire. Weapons ready. Stay close. There's a sudden rush of movement as the men scramble to their feet, gathering around the fire, weapons drawn and faces stricken with fear. It's not panic yet, but it's close. Whatever is out there in the darkness is no longer just a feeling. It's real, and it's coming closer. You strain your eyes into the blackness beyond the firelight, but it's impossible to make out anything. The growl fades for a moment, and the stillness creeps back in. The air feels heavier now, pressing against your chest as you try to breathe. The darkness seems to have thickened, as if the island itself is closing in around you. The captain motions for a couple of the men to start gathering more wood, his voice steady but laced with tension. We need more fire. We need to keep it burning. But as the men move to obey, the sound comes again, closer this time, a deep rumbling growl that makes your stomach twist. It's not the growl of an animal, though. It's something else, something too deep, too ancient. And in that moment, you realize with a sinking feeling that this island isn't just hiding secrets, it's alive with them. And you've just uncovered the first. The captain grips his weapon tightly, his jaw set. He doesn't speak, but there's a silent understanding that whatever's out there, it's not going to just fade into the jungle. It's waiting, watching, and you're no longer certain if it's something from the land or something far older than you've imagined. The men gather closer to the fire, their eyes darting nervously between the captain and the shadows at the forest's edge. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting for the next sound, the next movement. The jungle is alive with unseen creatures, things that know the rhythms of this land, things that have always been here, waiting for you to stumble into their domain. You can feel the pull of the darkness, the unknown, creeping closer with each passing second. And no matter how much you try to reassure yourself, you know one thing for certain. The island is not going to let you leave without a price. Historians still argue about the nature of the fears that plagued the early explorers, whether it was the fear of the ocean, of uncharted lands, or of the strange creatures they encountered. Some say these fears were born from superstition, while others argue they were based in something much more real. But as you sit here on the edge of this forgotten island, you wonder if the fears of those early sailors were not so far from the truth. Some things on this earth were meant to stay buried. And you're on the brink of uncovering a secret that may never let you leave. The night grows colder and the air thicker. The growl from the jungle, deep and resonant, echoes again, sending a ripple of tension through the crew. Each man grips his weapon tighter, eyes flicking nervously between the captain and the darkened trees. Whatever it is, whatever is lurking out there, it's close, too close for comfort. You can hear the sound of branches breaking in the distance, the unmistakable sound of something large moving through the underbrush. The growl is low, almost like a warning, a sound that reverberates through the very ground beneath your feet. It's not a beast, not an animal. It's something older, something more dangerous, and it's getting closer. The fire crackles, its flickering flames casting long shadows that stretch toward the jungle, the light barely touching the trees just beyond the camp. The men are silent now, all of them staring into the darkness, each one waiting for the next move. The captain, still standing with his weapon in hand, watches the trees with narrowed eyes. He's seen many things in his time, many dangers, but this feels different. This is something that he's not prepared for. One of the crew members, a younger man, begins to shift nervously, his breath shallow as he glances around. He doesn't speak, but the fear in his eyes is palpable. Another man, older and more experienced, grabs his shoulder, shaking his head silently. This isn't the time for panic, but the young man's fear is contagious, spreading through the group like wildfire. You can feel it creeping up your spine, too. The unsettling sensation that something is watching, something that knows exactly where you are. The captain's voice breaks through the silence. Stay close. Stay quiet. If we move at all, we move together. There's a collective nod among the crew, though no one speaks. They're not sure what they're waiting for, but they know it's something that won't let them walk away. The tension in the air is almost unbearable. Every rustle in the trees, every movement in the darkness, feels like it's being amplified by the fear that settled over the camp. The wind picks up again, howling through the trees, causing the branches to sway violently. The fire spits embers into the air, but the shadows remain long, stretching over the ground like fingers reaching out, ready to claim anyone who dares to stray too far. The growling noise comes again, but this time it's closer, closer than before. It's not just one growl, it's a series of low, guttural noises, almost like a chorus of creatures, all circling just outside the fire's reach. The ground beneath you trembles, a subtle vibration, like the earth itself is reacting to whatever is out there. The air becomes thick, oppressive, as though it's charged with something ancient and powerful. You can't help but glance at the jungle's edge again, your heart pounding in your chest. The trees are darker than they should be, more imposing. The jungle isn't just a place of mystery. It feels imfumpaf, watching, waiting. The air feels thicker here, charged with an unnatural energy, as if the land itself is holding its breath. The captain steps forward slowly, his eyes scanning the darkness, his weapon ready. He gives a quick signal, and two of the men move to the edge of the firelight, weapons raised, scanning the tree line. The rest of the crew stays close, but the fear is creeping in again, faster now. You can feel it in the air, a heavy, suffocating weight that presses down on you, making it harder to breathe. The growls grow louder, more intense, now accompanied by a low, rumbling sound, almost like the earth itself is responding to the creatures in the jungle. It's not a normal sound, a rumble that seems to come from deep beneath the island, as though something is stirring in the depths, something ancient and powerful. The captain's eyes snap back to the group, his expression grim. Get the fire going. We need more light. We need to make ourselves known. Do not let the flames die. The men scramble, hands shaking as they pile more wood onto the fire. The flames flare up for a moment, casting bright light into the jungle, but it only makes the shadows feel more oppressive. The growls are closer now, louder, almost deafening. You can hear the rustling of leaves, the unmistakable sound of something moving just beyond the light, its form hidden by the thick darkness. Then, suddenly, there's a screech, a high-pitched sound, sharp and shrill, that cuts through the night air. The crew freezes, all eyes turning toward the forest. The sound isn't just animalistic. It's something else, something that isn't supposed to be in the world of men. The captain steps forward again, his expression set in grim determination. Ready yourselves, he orders. Whatever this is, we'll face it together. Stay close and don't break the line. As he speaks, there's a flicker of movement at the edge of the trees. Something large, dark, and fast. It darts between the trunks, just out of reach of the firelight, and the growls intensify, now mingling with a new sound, something deep, resonating, like a voice in the dark. It seems to speak, but in a language you can't understand, a voice that feels too ancient to belong to anything human. The men grip their weapons tighter, the tension in the air palpable. You can feel your heart racing as you stare into the jungle, every sense on high alert. There's something out there, something ancient and powerful, and it's closing in. You glance to the captain, whose jaw is clenched tight, eyes steely and focused. He's seen danger before, but this feels different. It's not just the jungle, not just wild animals. This island is hiding something more, something much older. The rustling stops suddenly, and the jungle falls eerily silent. The wind stops. The trees no longer sway. It's as if the world is holding its breath once again. And then you hear it, soft at first, like a whisper carried on the wind, a voice speaking in a language you don't understand, but somehow feels wrong. It's not a language of man, and that's when you realize you're not alone, not here, not on this island, and whatever's out there, waiting in the darkness, is not going to let you leave. The island holds its breath, and so do you. The silence presses in, thick and suffocating. For a moment, it feels as if the entire world is waiting, poised on the edge of something ancient and unseen. The wind is gone. The rustling in the trees stopped. The growls and whispers from the jungle have faded, leaving only the rhythmic pounding of your heart to fill the void. You're surrounded by a deathly quiet that feels unnatural. The fire crackles, but even its warmth seems too small, too fragile against the weight of the island's dark presence. The captain stands motionless, his eyes narrowed, scanning the trees as if searching for something just beyond sight. The crew is equally still, every muscle tense, their weapons clutched tightly, faces drawn in fear and exhaustion. No one dares speak, no one dares move. Then, a sudden, sharp movement in the shadows, just the flicker of something large, too fast to catch fully in the dark. It's enough to send your pulse racing, the adrenaline coursing through your veins. You grip your weapon tighter, ready for whatever's coming. But whatever it is, it's not coming for you yet. Not directly. You feel it in your bones. It's circling, watching. The captain's voice is low, steady, but you hear the edge beneath it. Everyone, keep your distance. No one strays too far. The words, simple and clear, do little to ease the sense of dread that clings to the air. You know that the safety of the fire is fading, that whatever lurks in the shadows isn't just content to watch from afar. It's biding its time, waiting for the perfect moment. Another growl erupts from the jungle. This time, it's not just one. It's a chorus, a low, resonant sound that shakes the very ground beneath you. The sound reverberates deep in your chest, the unmistakable growl of something far larger than any creature you've seen. It's a call, a warning, and then, without any further sound, the jungle grows quiet again, unnervingly so. The sudden silence is suffocating, but the air feels charged, like static before a storm. And that's when it happens. A flash of movement, a blur too fast for the eye to follow, erupts from the trees. It's a shape, large and powerful, and in the dim light of the fire, you catch only glimpses of it. An elongated figure, sleek and dark, with eyes that gleam like shards of glass. It's not an animal, not a creature of flesh and bone as you understand it. It moves too fluidly, too smoothly, as if it's part of the shadows themselves. Before anyone can react, it's gone. A fleeting shadow in the darkness, vanishing into the jungle as quickly as it appeared. But it leaves behind an air of absolute terror, a presence so palpable that you can almost feel its breath on the back of your neck. The captain's voice cuts through the tense silence. That wasn't just a beast. We're dealing with something older, something we can't fight with just steel. The men exchange nervous glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and dread. They're too scared to speak, too shocked by the reality of what they've just witnessed. You're all still processing what just happened, how the shadows seemed to come alive, how that thing moved faster than any animal, more fluid, more unnatural. The captain doesn't wait for any responses. "Keep your eyes on the forest," he orders, his voice grim. "We won't survive if we don't stick together. Stay sharp." The group huddles closer to the fire, the flickering light offering little comfort now. The jungle, one once merely an obstacle, now feels like an enemy, an ancient, dark force that has decided you are no longer welcome. And whatever that creature was, whatever it is that has been watching, it's not the last of it. You know it. You can feel it in your bones. You glance at the captain again, who stands motionless at the edge of the camp, eyes scanning the jungle. His expression is hard, but there's something behind it, something you don't quite understand. He's seen danger before, but this is different. He's not just worried about the physical threat. He's worried about something far more dangerous. The unknown. The dark forces that exist on this island. And the possibility that you've just stumbled into something far older and more dangerous than any of you can comprehend. And so you wait. You wait for the creature, the thing lurking in the shadows, to strike again. But with each passing minute, it feels as if time itself has slowed. The world seems suspended, caught between what you've seen and what you know is coming. Another sound breaks the stillness, a faint rustle in the jungle. A shadow shifts at the edge of the firelight. This time, it's different, closer. The growls aren't just animal noises anymore. They've become something else, a deep, guttural resonance that seems to vibrate the very air. It's not just a threat. It's a warning, one that the island itself is sending. This land doesn't want you here. It never has. The captain's voice is barely a whisper now. Whatever this is, we don't fight it. We survive. As the minutes stretch on, you can't help but wonder how much longer the fire will protect you. The island feels as though it's closing in around you, as though the land itself is alive, pulsating with a strange energy that only it understands. It's waiting for you to make a move, to step in its domain fully. The fire crackles, but its warmth no longer seems to reach far enough. You can feel the darkness growing, pressing against the edges of your mind. The creature, or whatever it is, knows you're here now, and it's only a matter of time before it decides what to do with you. Historians argue about the explorers who faced similar unknowns. Were they driven mad by the isolation, the fears of things they couldn't understand? Or did they truly encounter forces beyond human comprehension, things that had been waiting, untouched, for centuries? On this island, in this strange land, you are beginning to believe that some things, some forces, may be beyond the reach of human knowledge, and you're not sure whether you're meant to survive them, or whether that's even possible. The jungle remains silent once more, but the tension in the air is unbearable, as though the world is holding its breath. You sit there, every muscle in your body taut, waiting for the next sign of movement, the next sound, the next terrifying encounter. The fire crackles, its light dancing wildly across the faces of the men huddled around it. No one speaks, no one dares. The very atmosphere feels charged, as if something ancient is about to unfold, and you, all of you, are caught in its wake. The captain keeps his eyes on the dark edge of the jungle, his hand firmly gripping his weapon, his posture rigid. He seems less like a man now and more like a figurehead of stoic determination, fighting to keep the crew together in the face of something far bigger than any of you had ever expected. His jaw is clenched, his eyes flicking back and forth, alert to every shift in the air. For all his experience, there's a deep unease in him. He knows that whatever this island is, it's not a place for men. It's a place that has been untouched by time. And maybe, just maybe, time has forgotten to let go of what's here. The jungle around you feels different now. The shadows stretch unnaturally long as the wind picks up again, whipping through the trees. The air smells thick with the scent of earth and wet foliage, but it's not the fresh, welcoming scent you'd expect after the rain. It's a damp, rotten smell, one that suggests decay, ancient growths, and things long buried. Every gust of wind that rushes through the trees carries with it the distant whisper of something low, deep, and primal. You feel the hairs on your neck rise, and every instinct in your body tells you to run, to flee, to get as far from this place as possible. But you can't run. You're trapped here on an island that seems to hold its secrets like a clenched fist, unwilling to release them. The crew shifts uneasily, some glancing toward the jungle, others at the captain, waiting for the next command. The young man who had been nervous earlier speaks up quietly, his voice barely a whisper. We need to get out of here. We need to leave before it, whatever it is, finds us. The words hang in the air for a moment before being swallowed by the oppressive silence of the jungle. You can hear the thrum of your own pulse in your ears, the weight of the young man's suggestion settling over the camp like a cold fog. It's clear that fear has taken root in the hearts of everyone here. The terror of the unknown is no longer abstract. It's real, and it's waiting for you to make a move. But the captain's response is sharp, decisive. We stay. We wait until daylight. At first light, we move inland, find shelter, find out what's really here. There's no argument, no challenge to his words. The captain's authority in these moments is absolute. The crew knows that he's right. Running now would be the wrong choice, and they know it. But that doesn't stop the fear. No one knows what waits in the jungle, just beyond the edge of the firelight. No one knows what that creature is, or if it's only one, or if there are more. The fire crackles and pops, sending sparks into the air. It feels weak now, though. The flames are no longer a source of warmth and security. They're just a flickering reminder of how small your presence is in the face of the island's vast, ancient power. You find yourself staring at the flames, trying to focus on anything that isn't the jungle. But your mind keeps drifting back to that shape, that movement you saw in the trees. It wasn't just a shadow, not just a trick of the light. It was real. You know it was. And you also know that whatever it was, it's not something from your world. It's something from another time, another place, and it's not interested in your survival. It's watching, waiting, and it knows you're here. Another growl pierces the night, louder now, as if the creature is testing you, gauging how close it can come before you break. It's a challenge, a warning, a proclamation that you are no longer welcome here. The island itself seems to pulse with life, as if the land is breathing, expanding, contracting with every growl, every whisper that carries on the wind. The men huddle closer to the fire, their eyes wide, their movements slower now, as if the very act of motion requires more effort than it should. Their shoulders are hunched, their bodies tense, and you can see it in their eyes. They're afraid, afraid of the unknown, afraid of the thing in the jungle that's been circling them all night. The captain takes a step closer to the fire, his silhouette sharp against the flickering light. Tomorrow, he says, his voice steady but quiet. We move, but we don't leave this camp until then. Keep the fire going. Stay together. His words are met with reluctant nods, and slowly the crew begins to settle again. But the unease doesn't fade. The jungle is still out there, waiting, as silent as death itself. There's no telling what it is, no telling whether it's a creature or a force of nature, but you all know one thing. You're no longer just explorers. You're prey. You stare at the fire, your mind racing. What is this island? What is it hiding? What have you uncovered that should have stayed hidden forever? The answers are out there in the jungle, but you can't shake the feeling that some questions are better left unanswered. Some things were never meant to be discovered. The night stretches on, the air growing colder, the jungle more oppressive with each passing minute. You try to sleep, but it's impossible. The fear is too great. The growls continue, sporadic but constant, and the trees whisper secrets you're not meant to hear. And as the hours drag on, you realize something. This island doesn't want you to leave. It's not going to let you leave. You've disturbed something ancient, and now you will pay the price. The hours drag on in a tense, unbearable stillness. The jungle is alive, but it's a silent kind of life, something that pulses beneath the surface, just out of reach, hidden in the shadows. The growls have stopped, but the air is thick with the unspoken fear that lingers, clinging to the edges of your thoughts. Every rustle, every movement in the trees makes your heart race. The night, once a comfort for sailors, has become a trap, a place where everything you thought you knew is thrown into question. You sit by the fire, the warmth of it barely enough to fend off the chill creeping through your bones. The flames crackle and pop, sending occasional sparks flying into the night air, but their light seems small and fragile against the vastness of the jungle that surrounds you. It's as though the darkness has consumed everything, leaving you and your crew as mere specks in an ancient, unfathomable world. You glance around at the others. They sit huddled in small groups, their faces pale in the firelight, eyes flickering nervously at the jungle's edge. Some are trying to rest, but there's no sleep here, not with the tension hanging in the air like a suffocating fog. They all know that, in the jungle, the night is alive with things far older and more powerful than any of them. The whispers you hear in the wind, the growls that carry through the trees, are warnings. And now you've crossed the line. You've trespassed into a place that doesn't want you here, a place that has kept its secrets hidden for so long. The captain moves toward you, his steps slow and deliberate, his expression grim. He's trying to appear strong, but you can see the weariness in his eyes, the same weariness you feel in your own bones. We move at first light, he says quietly, his voice just loud enough to be heard over the crackling fire. Prepare yourselves. We need to find shelter, and we need to know what we're dealing with. There's no argument from the crew. Everyone nods, too exhausted and terrified to question him. The captain's words have the weight of authority, but they also carry a sense of finality, as though he knows something you don't. There's a dark resolve in his eyes now, one that tells you he's prepared to face whatever comes, even if it means confronting the island's terrible truths. The night stretches on, each minute dragging like hours. The fire burns low, and the cold creeps deeper into your bones. The growls from the jungle have stopped, but you can still feel the presence of whatever watches you, waiting in the shadows. You're not sure if it's one creature or something more, but you know this much. It's not just an animal, not just a beast. It's something from a time long forgotten, something that has existed long before men ever stepped foot on these shores. And now you're trapped here with it. The wind picks up again, howling through the trees, bending the branches as though they're alive, reaching for you. The jungle is alive with the sound of movement, but it's not the normal sounds of wildlife. It's something deeper, more primal, as if the land itself is shifting, adapting, preparing for whatever comes next. You feel it in your bones. The land is not neutral. It's a predator, and you're the prey. You hear something, a low, drawn-out howl that rises from deep within the jungle. It's not the growl from earlier, not the same beast. This is different, longer, more haunting, and it sends a chill down your spine. The howl pierces the stillness, reverberating through the jungle, and for the first time, you wonder if there's more than one. How many creatures are out there, hidden in the darkness? And more importantly, are they waiting for you to leave? Or are they waiting for you to come to them? You feel the presence in the trees again. It's closer now, just on the edge of the firelight. You can't see it, but you know it's there, watching. The fear is almost tangible, pressing down on you from all sides. You try to breathe, but it feels harder, as if the air itself is thicker, heavier, full of an invisible weight that makes your chest tighten. The captain turns to face the jungle, his posture rigid, but his eyes are full of something darker than fear, understanding. They want us to move, he mutters under his breath, more to himself than to anyone else. But they're not going to let us leave easily. It's the first time you've heard him speak of escape, and the words hang in the air like a dark prophecy. Whatever happens, the island isn't just testing you, it's hunting you. You've disturbed something ancient, something that's not content to let you simply wander off its shores. There's a price for every step you take, and now you've paid it. The night deepens, the shadows stretching long across the camp. The fire burns low, its light flickering in the growing darkness. The crew huddles closer, silent now, all eyes on the jungle, all senses heightened, waiting for the next move. And then a new sound, soft, almost imperceptible at first, but unmistakable once you hear it. It's a rhythmic thumping, like footsteps, large ones. The sound grows louder, and suddenly you realize with a sickening jolt that it's coming from all around you, from every corner of the camp. The captain stands up quickly, his hand on his weapon, his face a mask of resolve. "Get ready," he whispers, though there's no mistaking the urgency in his voice. "We face whatever's out there together. Don't break rank." The crew moves into position, gathering their weapons and forming a loose circle around the fire, eyes scanning the jungle in every direction. But the thumping doesn't stop. It grows louder, closer, faster. It's not just one creature anymore. It's a group, and whatever they are, they're closing in. You can feel the weight of the moment pressing down on you. Whatever happens next, this is it. The island has made its move. Now, it's time for you to make yours. The thumping grows louder, echoing in the night like a heartbeat, rhythmic and relentless. It's all around you now, as if the very ground beneath your feet is pulsing with the vibrations of whatever is approaching. The men tighten their grips on their weapons, their faces grim, eyes wide with fear and determination. The jungle is alive with movement, but you can't see what's causing it. The shadows seem to stretch unnaturally, warping and twisting in the firelight, as if something is lurking just beyond the edge of the flame, watching. The captain's voice cuts through the tension, low but firm. "Hold steady. No one moves unless I say so." You can hear his breath, shallow and quick, but his command is enough to steady the crew, if only for a moment. You glance around the camp. The men are huddled close, their weapons ready, their faces pale in the firelight. Some have their backs pressed to the trees. Others are facing outward, their eyes darting between the shifting shadows. They're waiting for something to happen, for the first sign that whatever is stalking them has made its move. But the sound doesn't stop. The thumping is getting closer, each step heavy and deliberate, as if whatever is out there is circling, testing you. The jungle is silent for a beat, the wind completely still, and then a loud crack, like a tree branch snapping under a tremendous weight, rips through the silence. A shadow moves in the trees, massive and fluid, too fast for you to follow. You catch a glimpse of it, something dark, long, and serpentine, a fleeting silhouette vanishing back into the jungle before your mind can fully process what you've seen. You freeze, your heart races in your chest, each beat louder than the last, each pulse of adrenaline sharp, electrifying your senses. The crew is still, too quiet, and for a long moment, there's nothing but the growing rhythm of thumping, louder now, closer, pounding from multiple directions. It's not just one creature, it's a pack, a group, and they're circling, watching, waiting. Then, without warning, something crashes through the underbrush, followed by a series of high-pitched screeches that make the blood run cold in your veins. The sound is unnatural, not a normal animal cry. It's guttural, almost human in its intensity, as though whatever is making it is beyond the natural order. The captain raises his hand, signaling for everyone to stay silent, stay hidden. But it's too late. The creatures know you're here. They know you're watching. From the edge of the firelight, a figure emerges, a massive, hulking shape, its form dark against the flickering flames. It moves with unnatural speed, shifting between the trees like a shadow, its body large, covered in thick, mottled fur. Its eyes gleam like coals in the dark, glowing yellow as it scans the camp. For a split second, you catch its gaze, and a cold shiver runs down your spine. There's intelligence in those eyes, and something darker. The creature sniffs the air, its head tilting slightly as it assesses the situation. And you can feel the rest of the crew stiffen, their weapons raised, but no one dares fire. You're not sure why. Maybe it's the size of the creature, its immense bulk, or maybe it's the way it moves, fluid and graceful, despite its size, as though it's used to stalking prey, used to hunting. Another figure emerges from the shadows, then another, until the jungle is filled with movement. They're circling, surrounding the camp, a pack of them, each one larger than the last. These creatures, beasts, or whatever they are, seem to be made of darkness itself, blending into the shadows, only their eyes glowing in the firelight. You realize with a chill that you've stepped into their territory, their domain, and they have no intention of letting you leave. The captain doesn't hesitate. "Get ready to move," he orders, his voice firm but laced with urgency. "On my command, we head inland. Keep close. If we scatter, we die." The men nod, a few of them looking at the creatures with a mix of awe and terror. But they're soldiers, sailors, survivors. They've seen the worst the world has to offer. This is something different, something far older, and yet they're ready. They move in sync, eyes fixed on the creatures, but waiting for the right moment to act. The leader of the pack, a massive creature, its fur matted and its form almost entirely concealed by the shadows, steps forward, its eyes never leaving the fire. Its snout twitches as it breathes, drawing in the scent of the men, the air thick with the scent of fear and sweat. You can almost hear the creature's minds working, calculating. They know you're trapped here. They know you're the prey. Then the creature lunges, a blur of motion, too fast for you to follow, but you hear the crash of branches breaking as it charges forward. The other creatures move in an instant, their speed impossible, their power unimaginable. The first one jumps for the edge of the camp, and before you can react, a scream pierces the night, a deep, terrified cry that sends shockwaves of terror through your body. It's one of the crew, a young man who didn't move fast enough. He's grabbed by the creature, his scream cut short by a horrible, crushing snap. Chaos erupts. The captain roars an order, but it's swallowed by the wild cacophony of the pack's growls and the cries of the crew. The men are running, scrambling toward the jungle, trying to break the circle of beasts closing in around them. But you can feel it now. The creatures are no longer just hunting. They're herding, driving you inward, forcing you deeper into the heart of the island. There's no escape, no place to hide. The jungle is no longer a refuge. It's a trap. The last thing you hear before the world goes silent is the captain's voice, a final command as he runs toward the jungle's edge. Move. We run, now, together. But you know, deep down, that it may be too late. The island has claimed you, and its guardians are relentless. Panic has taken root among the crew. The jungle erupts with chaos, the air thick with the growls of the creatures and the desperate cries of your men. The sounds of footsteps pounding through the underbrush, branches breaking, and the relentless pursuit of the beasts surround you. The ground is uneven, rocky, and the dense foliage tangles around your legs. But you can't stop. You can't slow down. Every moment is another step closer to survival, or to being caught by the terrifying shadows that stalk you. The fire behind you flickers and dies, casting the camp into total darkness, leaving only the dim light from the glowing eyes of the creatures and the moonlight that filters through the trees. The beasts, their movements like blurs in the dark, are faster than anything you could have imagined. They're not just predators, they're hunters, patient, calculating, and relentless. The captain leads the way, his voice sharp as he barks orders to the men. Stick together, stay in the light, don't break formation. But the formation is quickly falling apart. Men trip and stumble over roots and rocks, their breaths ragged and fast, the fear pushing them to move too quickly, to look over their shoulders too often. You hear another scream, a sharp, guttural sound that cuts through the chaos. You don't need to look to know what it means. The beasts have claimed another one. You push yourself harder, your muscles burning with exertion, your lungs aching for air. The fear is a constant, gnawing thing in your chest. But you can't stop. The creatures are behind you, and their growls grow louder with every passing second. There's no time to think about anything else, no time for regret. The jungle has swallowed you whole, and the only thing left is the desperate need to survive. The captain's voice calls out again, sharper now, filled with the edge of desperation. Keep moving. We're almost there. The words don't make sense at first. Where is there? What's there? You're running blind through a forest that feels like it's been here longer than human memory. A place that doesn't obey the same rules as the world you left behind. But somehow, the captain knows where to go. His instincts are sharp, his steps sure as he leads the crew deeper into the jungle, away from the clearing where the fire once burned. The creatures are relentless, their growls now joined by a low, hissing sound that makes your skin crawl. They're close, too close. You can hear their claws scraping against the bark of the trees, their feet pounding against the earth. The air vibrates with their presence, and with every second that ticks by, it feels as though the island itself is closing in around you. Then you see it, a faint, pale light ahead, just barely visible through the trees. It's not the moon, not the faint shimmer of starlight. This is something else, something brighter, almost unnatural. The captain's pace quickens as he leads the crew toward the light. It's a strange, ethereal glow that cuts through the oppressive darkness, beckoning you onward. You run toward it, your heart hammering in your chest, desperate for safety, for something, anything that could offer protection. You feel the first glimmer of hope in what seems like forever. Perhaps, you think, there is something ahead that will shield you from the creatures, from the relentless horrors of the jungle. The light is like a beacon, guiding you through the darkness. But as you draw closer, you realize the light isn't coming from an open clearing or an escape route. It's coming from the trees themselves, from the plants that line the path ahead. The jungle is glowing, faint streaks of bioluminescence coating the trunks and the leaves, pulsing like something alive. It's both beautiful and unnerving, like the jungle has come to life in a way you can't comprehend. The glow grows brighter as you run, but something about it feels wrong. It's unnatural. The very air around you hums, charged with an energy that doesn't belong in this world. The captain slows, his eyes narrowing as he scans the path ahead. He knows what's coming. You can see it in the way his jaw tightens, the way his posture shifts from urgency to caution. "Get ready," he mutters, his voice tense. This isn't what it seems. Before you can ask what he means, the creatures are upon you. There's no warning, no chance to react, only the sudden explosion of sound and movement as the first beast lunges forward, its massive form crashing through the trees. Its glowing eyes lock onto you, and with a flash of its claws, it strikes. The world becomes a blur of motion. The crew scatters, some falling to the ground as the creatures close in, their growls and hisses filling the air, a cacophony of predatory sounds. You fight, your weapon raised, but it feels so small in the face of these creatures, these ancient predators that should have never been disturbed. They move with impossible speed, their bodies flicking between trees and shadows, too fast to track. It's like fighting ghosts, dark, ethereal things that move through the jungle like they own it. The captain shouts again, but his voice is lost in the chaos. The creatures close in, circling the remaining survivors. You're trapped. There's no escape. You back away slowly, your heart pounding in your chest. And then you see it, a figure standing just beyond the trees, cloaked in the unnatural light of the jungle. It's tall, impossibly tall, its silhouette barely visible against the glow. For a moment, you think it's another creature, but as you focus, you see that it's different. It's humanoid, but its features are obscured, shadowed by the light. It stands still, watching you as the pack closes in. The captain, his face pale and grim, turns to you, his voice low but full of authority. Don't move. Don't engage it. Not yet. The light pulses again, and in that moment, you realize something. The creatures are no longer charging. They've stopped. They're waiting. For what? The figure steps forward, emerging from the glowing jungle. It raises a hand, and the beasts, the pack of predators that had hunted you relentlessly, step back, retreating into the shadows. You stare in disbelief as the figure turns toward you, its form more distinct now. It's not human. It's not anything you've ever seen before, but its presence feels commanding. It's the source of the light, of the energy that hums through the jungle. And in that moment, you realize that whatever you've stumbled into, whatever secret this island holds, it's far older, far more dangerous than you ever imagined. You're no longer just a traveler in an unknown land. You're a part of a story much larger than yourself, and it's a story that's been waiting for you to uncover its darkest secrets.